Well, everybody, welcome back. Three passive voices, the squeakquel. Welcome back to Three Passive Voices. Hey, I'm new to the channel. Can this build run T17s edition? I pre-planned that. I did write that down.
That was very good.
Come on, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody. We are here. We are what? This is week 6. I think this is week 6 in Necropolis League. And we've got 60 more to go, baby. 60 more weeks in Necropolis.
I've been looking forward to the 12-month league, and here we are.
They just kept extending it, adding 6-7 scarabs at a time.
Please, I have never ever in my life wanted a 3-month league again. They need to go back to 3-month leagues, please, please, please.
I think, and we're cutting immediately down to topic number 8 here, but I believe the next league is a likely launch in what? July? I would say early July is the most likely scenario at this case. But
how many weeks is that?
That is 8 weeks from now.
No, but I mean, like, what
total.
is that a 3-month? If it were to be a 3-month league, it would be early July.
It would be late June if it was 3 months.
All right.
Okay.
It would be like the very last week in June.
So August 1st is my guess.
I was gonna say like the weekend after July 4th weekend. So what is
That'd
that?
be nice. I'd be okay with that.
The 8th.
I'm
July 4th
thinking
is midweek.
like 17th of September is probably when 3.25 will start.
The 21st night.
God, Lolcohol's been reading too much Reddit. Anyway, let's hop in.
I have not.
Okay, good. That's we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But let's hop in here. So there's quite a lot to break down here, I feel like. And I think for the sake of the discussion, it makes sense to break it down into individual segments rather than going super high level, because I think there's a lot of nuance here. There's the league mechanic, there's the end game changes, there's the kind of the cadence of updates and things in this league. There's a lot here. I feel like it makes sense to touch on those individually, which maybe rolls up into a wider opinion or discussion. But I think if it's all the same with you all, let's start with the actual Necropolis League mechanic itself. So getting more specific, Allflames, Gravecrafting, that whole thing. Because, again, I think it's looking at these in isolation from my perspective makes sense. But what I'm thinking, why don't we start there? What do you all think?
Gravecrafting. I think Arrow and I are on the same wavelength with Gravecrafting. It is the most tedious, horrible, badly designed, worst system probably ever added to PoE. I'm not going to be just bitching the whole time, but holy moly, it is so bad. So bad. I know there's people out there who like it, but like, goddamn, I cannot.
I was going to say, I don't agree. I don't agree at all.
You don't agree? All right.
I don't agree. I do find it tedious. I find the trading tedious. But I definitely do not agree that I would say it's the worst mechanic ever added to PoE ever. That's a big statement right there.
What's worse? Go.
What's
name
in terms of league,
name 5 systems that are like less fun.
Name all, less fun. You like PoE? Name all the enemies.
Yeah, just name all the leagues and then rank them, and we'll see where to.
That's actually a great idea. We could do passive. This is a future thing. Passive Voices ranks the league mechanics. A tier list collab. Ooh, that's.
I was gonna do that on my next stream, but yeah.
Oh shit!
Come on, go. What's worse? What's worse than Gravecrafting?
In terms of league mechanics, it's just that would be personal preference though, right? Like I don't like Breach, so I would say Breach is worse in my opinion.
That's like a circle mechanic.
You know what I mean? I feel
all
like
circle mechanics are fantastic.
All circle mechanics are fantastic. No, that's not true.
That's facts.
Ritual and Ultimatum, best circle mechanics. Breach is like a distant third. What other circle mechanics are there?
Righteous Fire.
All right, he's off the passive voices. We need a third voice. Okay. I would say, honestly, I am the sort of person, I like the planning. I like the time that goes into it. I dislike the trading, for sure. I think that's super tedious. But I kind of like you taking like all of this time and putting it into being like, how can I perfect this? And then you have that one big moment where you hit the button and it shits out an item that might be insane. Like I've hit insane items with the Gravecrafting. I think that my problem with the Gravecrafting, if I can join your camp for a second, is that I think that there's no middle ground, right? Like it is either you are going all in, trying to make the best possible item, because if you fuck up even the slightest thing, you literally brick it, right? But I think I'm the sort of person, I don't mind that. Like I'm always going to be on the higher end of that. Like I'm not pumping in one grave and just basically spending a chaos orb on an item, but I think I can understand the downside there. But I generally speaking don't mind the system. I do mind the trading. I think being like, oh, I want to make this Gravecraft, and then I'm like, oh, I have to trade 88 times to get it. That sucks. I don't like that. But I don't mind the actual system itself.
How do you feel about the UI?
The UI is, I think GGG's UIs in general are not a strong point, I will say. I think the UI is probably not great, but I don't hate it as much as I think you're about to say you do.
Oh, damn. You should become a politician, man. Very diplomatic.
What I was doing was setting you up to basically kind of distill your opinion down to, I don't like acquiring the things that I need. I don't like interacting with the UI for the thing. I just like the big item at the end, which is this has happened a million times before. People like things that reward them, and if they're rewarding enough, they don't care how bad they are. That is exactly what Affliction League was. We had to run around the edge of the forest after we were done. We spent 3 minutes like vacuuming up the little dust, but people were printing mirrors, so everybody was happy. And the reality is this is a bad mechanic with a very cool deterministic outcome for crafting. People like deterministic crafting outcomes. That's fine. I'm not even making a point about the items you can get. It's just the fact that people would rather have something that sucks and is rewarding than something that is fun and not as rewarding. And I sit firmly on the side of fun. I would rather engage with something like the Gravecrafting system, but with a better UI that just doesn't give me mirror tier items. I'm okay with that. I don't need to have that.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Something like Recombinators, which can give you something awesome, but they are actually really fun to engage with. That's, I think, a good example.
So let me ask you this. If the Gravecrafting system was, instead of the way it is right now, let's say that you basically pulled up, when you went to the Necropolis, you pulled up basically like a map, and it allowed you to just place them all one by one right there. You don't have to move around. It's just like you just are saying, I want this to go there, this to go there, and I'll do you one better. Like, let's say when you have a corpse that met that requirement, if you added it to your like Necropolis, like the system where you can place them from, it just auto added it based on like a pre-planned map. Would that, and then everything else was the same. What would you say then to the system?
I would say that the UI is significantly better, and it still has a lot of flaws.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
All right, so it's more than that. It's more than that. It's less about streamlining. Okay. I'm trying to understand your argument.
I think the most obnoxious thing is just the level of optimization, which is the kind of thing some people love, but the adjacent corpse type thing is so bad.
I completely agree with you there.
Like, why are there corpse types? And it should just be like 40% effects of adjacent corpses. That's fine. That's cool. But now it's like, oh, I need to buy 9 undead copy crafts and then place them. It's just, there's so many just steps that you're like, oh, fuck, I have to do this now. Oh, no, I still have to do this. I have 2,000 corpses. I'm pretty sure I've got everything. Oh, wait, no, I need another 14 corpses because these are the wrong type. Got to go back to trade. It's like the number of like stop-start points during engaging with the mechanic where you have to be like, oh shit, I need to go quickly trade again to do this craft is just, I don't know, it doesn't make it fun, at least for me.
Positioning is also incredibly important with a lot of them because rows and columns and adjacent and beast types, the position of each grave is of utmost importance. And if you place one wrong, you have to delete it. It's very punishing to do it wrong. You can't go, oh, I was going too fast. Nope, you just lost that fracture thing. That was 3 divines because you put it in the wrong spot. So what ends up happening is you end up spending so much time planning to not screw it up that you're... Let me distill it down. The other day, I made an insane chest. I made the best armor evasion chest that you can make. It was literally perfect base, perfect rolls, triple tier 1 resist suffixes, and it was divined perfect. It is literally the best one that you can make in the entire game. And it took me 3 hours front to back to craft this chest. And when I was done, I was like, I wish that this was a little bit worse and took me 30 minutes. I really just wish that. But because it was possible, I felt like I needed to make it perfect. So I did, and then I hated it. And I was like, why did I just spend all that time making this perfect item? It took me 3 hours. If you're making 20 div an hour, that's 60 divines in opportunity cost. What a lot of people don't think about when they think about time investment in the game, you're playing the game and you're not making money. You're spending it by crafting something. So 3 hours to make a chest, it just felt bad at the end. And I get it. People are going to go, then just don't make the best item. Well, that's not how the Gravecrafting system works. If I wanted to make something that was almost as good, it would have taken me 10 less minutes. So 2 hours and 50 minutes instead of... so I just ended up making it perfect because might as well.
And I think I emphasize, I think that is from my perspective, again, I'm perhaps more willing. I'm not as bothered by like the cumbersome aspects of it, but I think the biggest thing from my perspective that is an issue is that you can't just do like a 40 corpse craft. Like that doesn't work. Like, and I think that based on the way that this was discussed during the pre-league, Q&A and all that stuff, it seems like they had intended for this to be a little bit more of a gradient, right? Where you're like making things that are okay, they're only okay, they're like 10, 20 corpses. Then the mid-tier crafts are like more corpses, you're doing a little bit more. And then like, as Mark was kind of mentioning, the big ones are going to be things like that you're going all in, you're putting the best things in, you're filling the graveyard, etc. It just seems like they missed the mark on that, what they were discussing. And I think that is okay, just like, just noting that, like, I think that this didn't, based on those comments, it seems like this didn't pan out the way that they were expecting it to with the power level. Granted, the graves were very different when they were talking about it then, but I don't think that would have changed much in terms of this specific point. So I don't know. I had a feeling I was going to be in the minority on this one, so that's okay. I think that's going to be the case for a couple of these things, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it's good that you got a different opinion. It is good, because I'm sure there are other people. When I was streaming and complaining about it, there were lots of people who were like, man, I love this. I love sitting there with that Gravecrafter website and like planning it and getting it all perfect and like squeezing out every last % of efficiency out of it. I don't like doing that. So
I don't love it, but I don't hate it. So I don't mind the process. Like I'm kind of just like, oh, like let's just plan it out and like get it done and whatever. I don't know. It didn't bother me, but it wasn't like I was like, oh, I can't wait to plan this out. I guess I was like somewhere in the middle. The other thing that I saw getting brought up a couple times, which I agree with, is like it makes no sense why that there's 64 slots in the Necropolis guys inventory, but the graveyard itself is 88 slots. Like there's just no reason that shouldn't be 1-to-1.
It was 20.
So you can't, like, put the whole thing in.
Before the league started, they said it was like 20 or 25.
Oh, that was crazy. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. I know. It should have been like a 200 or something. Like
here's what I think GGG was expecting. I think that they thought we were going to find a corpse and go, ooh, a corpse, and then go plant it in the Necropolis, and then go back to our map. I think that's how they expected us to play. When we found something we needed, we'd go plant it. maybe we had some pre-designed plan, but we'd like go back and forth and use it a lot. I can't imagine a single person is doing that.
I'm doing that in my little hardcore playthrough where I'm like, oh, sweet, a corpse. It's basically just like an alchemy orb on a base that I want.
Yeah, sure.
That's actually really cool. I really like that on just like an SF playthrough. You're like, oh, sweet, I can make like an amethyst ring and maybe, I don't know, maybe get like a bit more chaos res, but yeah.
No, I meant like one at a time, like building the graveyard out. The chaos thing, chaos orb thing is really cool, and I wish I would have used that more early league. But I mean, like, I think they actually expected people to have crafts that they planned out and then find a corpse and then go and add it. Otherwise, why would you ever have an 88 corpse graveyard with 64 storage slots? Because what I do is I keep them all in my quad tabs because I have to, all 9 of my quad tabs that I'm using right now. And then when I have something planned out, I go get all those corpses and then I go plant them all. Because otherwise I would just forget things and things would be out of order. So which means I have to now do multiple trips to go fill up the morgue and then plant them from there, which is super fun. There's a lot of quad spiracists in chat. A lot of people thinking that this was a cash grab by GGG. I think what can be explained by I don't want to use a strong word, but what can be explained by ignorance is probably best explained that way. I don't think they saw this coming. I don't think they saw us storing these for a month and a half. And I think they just thought we'd be using them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it would have been, it would have been nice if the corpses were like 5 times as effective and they just appeared 5 times less, right? Like that would have been fantastic, but I don't get the impression there's a quadspiracy. Yeah, I'm not sold on that. And also, I'm just gonna be saying I already had enough quad tabs ready to go. Okay, I already had enough quad tabs. I didn't have to buy a single one. 0 quad tabs spent from me this league. Let it be known.
Big
no
flex.
Quadspiracy. It missed. Went right over this league.
You hear that, guys? Don't sub Thomas it. He doesn't need your money. He's.
Oh my God. Sub Thomas it. On my Aerostream. Sub Thomas it. Should we move on to Allflames?
Let's do it.
And there's Allflames is there's a lot of this could go in one of 100 directions with Allflames. I think we can cover all of it, but I will say that initially, from my perspective, more of like the concept of Allflames, just like how they're being used right now, not like the long and storied history of Allflames over the last month, the like abusive mechanics and things like that. But I think as a concept, Allflames have potential, and I could see some form of Allflames making it core, maybe one day. But wanted to get your guys' thoughts on just how those are being executed. Your thoughts on them right now, I guess, because again, which might not even be possible to like separate it from what has happened over the last month with them. But I'll defer to you all.
I love Allflames. I was actually hoping we were going to lead with this because I didn't want to start with being so negative. Because I actually really am enjoying this league. I think Allflames are so cool. I think they add so many interesting ways to engage with content. It adds more ways for us to farm different types of things. Right now, I think it's unfortunate that like one of the most common ones to drop is like the breach one, which is, I don't think breaches have ever been worth less than they are this league. So for that to be a really common one is unfortunate because I'm not picking up 3 tool splinters per map. But go ahead.
I was gonna just interrupt you on the breach one real quick. There's actually like an interesting strat with like the breach scarabs that work with the Allflames because they're considered breach monsters. So if you do more breach splinters and you stack them with the Allflames, it causes the breach monsters that you replace your mobs with to drop more breach splinters. There's something there. I think there's something.
Aren't
there
the breaches worth like 10C?
Not the Chayula ones. The Chayula ones are like what, 50 or 60C a pop for a breach stone?
I think they're less. I think even in bulk they're like 3 to a div.
Oh really?
But I mean that is cool. That is cool that works with scarabs, and there's something there for looking at Allflames a different way if they interact with with the Atlas and Scarabs, there's probably a lot of strategies we have not thought about yet. But I love that they add a new layer of ways to engage with the monsters in your map. Yeah, I love the Allflames. I think they're fantastic, and I actually hope that they do make it into the core game in some way. It's a lot of fun, and I think it is kind of saving the league for me because I just really like using them.
Mr. Cahal?
I actually don't have very strong feelings about it either way. I think they are cool and interesting. I think the problem is that I kind of burnt out on doing any kind of juicing last league. So everything I've been doing has been as all can go as possible. So I didn't do any like Allflame strats where I thought, oh, let me try get like 10 of these. This kind of, hey, I've got a few Karui ones. Let's throw those on. And then if I get a Chaos Orb one, then you chuck on the Anarchy one. But I didn't do anything too focused. So I don't really have a strong opinion. I don't dislike them, but they're fine.
I think they need to cull about 50% of them if they were to go core in any which way. Like, there's just too many. So it would be too tedious to manage. I mean, I'm already generating so many Allflames as it is right now that I don't know what the hell to do with. I probably should just remove 50% of them from my loot filter, but I can't.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely can just
it.
stop picking them up, this is a problem that we run into every single league. That is not, and this is not directed at you, but every single league stuff gets added and people complain to GGG like, there's too many of these things dropping. And the answer is always take them off your loot filter because, I mean, there's too many white hubris circlets dropping, but nobody's complaining about them because we took them off of our filters. Just take them off your filter if you don't want to use them. Again, not directed at you, just generally. I see a lot of complaining about that kind of stuff on Reddit.
No, it's a valid point. I completely agree. So, I like them. I think this might be a good moment to transition, though, into sort of the roller coaster ride of what this league has been, with particularly a lot of it being centered around Allflames in general, about what has... I can't remember a league that has had so many mid-league changes, hot fixes, buffs, nerfs, the whole gamut of things being adjusted. I don't think we've had leagues in the past, of course, where things have been changed. I mean, every league, something gets changed, small, most of the time. I can't remember the last really big change I can remember is like Delirium, where they removed or they nerfed, whatever that was, that aura stacking cluster jewel. That was the last really big change I can remember until this league, where I feel like there's been like the collection of small changes has equaled one very, very, very large change across the board. But abusive Allflame strats, there were a lot of them. Rogue Exiles, that was like 4 or 5 days of just people printing God knows how many doctors and whatever, things like that. But how has this been from your perspective in terms of, I guess, the ups and downs of the league?
You can take this away, Lolcohol.
Yeah, it's been a bit weird because I haven't done this in the past. I feel like if they were doing things the way if they did things last league the way they are doing it this league, we wouldn't have had Abyss Spires. Like, that just would have been removed. And I don't know what the sudden change of policy is there, because they let us keep some super broken stuff last league, and then this league I don't know, it's just like, here's a new thing, nerf it, here's a new thing, nerf it, here's a new thing, nerf it. I mean, they were like broken, but I don't understand I can't see like a consistent pattern behind it, especially stuff like fractured influence items. That feels so broken to me, but that has been left in the game. So I would like to understand better, and hopefully they'll talk about it sometime, just what the policy is and what the vision. I actually just, no meme, but like what the vision of the game is supposed to be, because why are these things being nerfed, but then I don't know, there's just other broken stuff. What are they trying to bring the game down to? be and to look like. So, whoops. Bonk.
Drop your milkies?
Yep, that's not just bonky my keyboardy. What about you?
I'd like to unhear that if I could. So I didn't want to include this in my talking about how much I liked Allflames. I've had a pretty big problem with how many unforeseen things got through this league. And I don't know how much testing goes on. I have no idea. But we've had a lot of cool things added to the game before, and we've never had this many mistakes. We've never had this many seemingly obvious things get through. They know the numbers. They know how easy it's going to be to put rogue exiles into tier 17s. They have access to all that information. So that was very shocking. Again, like the 6-link dupe thing, I don't know how the hell that made it through. We had 12 hours of pandemonium. There has just been so many things that slipped through this league that ultimately sent people away. At the end of the day, as a content creator, I want people to play the whole league. So seeing people leave in droves after these errors was really frustrating. But at the same time, things are going to happen. And I'm of the belief that if things are screwed up, just fix them. Talking to one of my mods, the Hanzai, the other day about, his Twister build a couple leagues ago that got nerfed. They just straight gutted it. They just shut it off because I think it was affecting the servers. Stuff like that, I don't necessarily know how to handle. If it's not a server problem, probably leave broken builds in the game. But things like you can have a mage blood every map probably is going to break the economy in an unfixable way if they don't do something about it. So I do think that those things should get addressed. It's a fine line. You're going to upset people no matter what you do. If you don't change it, people will complain. If you do change it, people will complain. Just try to do what's going to be best for the most amount of players going forward. So I don't know. It's tough. I don't think there's a good solution when they have these things. The only solution is to fix it before it happens. So hopefully this was an outlier league that had as many slip ups, and hopefully next league we don't have that.
Yeah, I think you said it well. My perspective is that I think they may have just bitten off a little more than they can chew. This league's too many changes going on at once. Too much scope. I'm going to compare this to Diablo 4 because Diablo 4 is about to do their new season. And basically what they said was, we're not doing a season theme. The season theme is that we're redoing loot. And basically it's as if Path of Exile was like, we're not doing Necropolis. We're just going to redo the end game. It's like they basically took on 30 to 40% more than, like the Diablo 4 team in a comparable type of change, I guess, is the way I'm thinking about it. And I would imagine the PoE team is smaller than, the D4 team. And I'm drawing this comparison just to say that I think that more stuff may have slipped through because this is one of the biggest patches, not leagues, patches that I can remember in recent PoE history. Like Affliction was a pretty decently chunky league, but the actual patch itself compared to this is way smaller from what I can see, right? Like we had Transfigure Gems was the big thing, but on the same note, Transfigure Gems were essentially like a similar, they basically just like ported the concept of alt quality gems into Transfigure Gems essentially, right? So they kind of have like the core of that. It's just more of the actual execution. Whereas I feel like this league had a ton of changes, way more than previous leagues in last, well, I can remember, in terms of both actual league itself and then also all of the core game changes that occurred. So I would imagine that this is going to be something they're going to remember, right? Like, okay, we did a lot this league, but there was a lot of bugs, there was a lot of mistakes, as you put it, Arrow, things like that. I would imagine that that this is from their perspective, dev perspective, I don't know. I'm assuming that this was probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest leagues they've done in a very long time, to drop all at once.
Also, as chat mentions, the the addition of, well, let's go one step back. Reworking Scarabs was the biggest mapping change we've seen since they introduced like the Atlas tree. It was an insane rework of pretty much everything. And then on top of it, they added Allflames. So I don't know if they had time to really go through the extent of possibilities between the two, which fair enough. But maybe they just shouldn't have introduced them at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, Allflames, again, while I would agree that I consider them to be like the stronger, more neutral part of the league that, made it through, like they easily could have just like had the Gravecrafting mechanic, cut Allflames completely, and then just did the Scarab rework, right? And nobody would have no one would have been like after the fact, well, the Gravecrafting mechanic was like not like enough of a substantial league mechanic, because like theoretically it is, like on its own, the Gravecrafting could be enough, right, to just like be a league on its own. So the Allflames on top of that, like I think we could have lived without it, so to speak, and nobody would have been like, this league is lacking content. The league mechanic is lacking content, rather. So I think agree.
No matter what I say, I'm probably gonna have a few negative opinions on this stream today. But all that being said, I think something important to bear in mind is that GGG is not scared to take risks. They're not scared to push boundaries. They're not scared to just like, flip everything on its head. And obviously sometimes that's going to cause things to not feel great initially, but over time they learn a lot from those big abrupt changes, and then over time the game always gets better. So even if we have these kind of ups and downs with leagues like this that are just not popular, I think in the long term, hopefully what it'll mean is that they are learning a lot from it, and the game will get better as a result. Because the game, I mean, compared to 10 years ago, is a much better game. I don't know if that's cope, but that's how I feel. I'd rather have GGG do some crazy shit that doesn't feel good once in a while than what Blizzard does with D4, which is everything is always so safe. It's always like so timid and like pussyfooting around, and like, oh, we mustn't do anything too crazy because then we might, I don't know, lose players or upset the corpos or whatever. But so there's a lot of shit. How do we
add more demons into the maps?
Yeah, exactly. That's how do we add demons? Let's change the itemization system. So now that we have like some of the lists of their new itemization mods were like, now items will have flat life and intelligence, and also just generic mods like damage over time. That is great. Like you've added basic fundamental modifiers to your game. Yay, cool. Like I'm keen to play D4, weirdly enough, but I'd rather swing and a miss than not even swinging for it.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Arrow 2024. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say corpos is cyberpunk terminology. I did not know that. I haven't played cyberpunk.
Yeah, you dropped a lot of words in that sentence that were interesting.
Like?
Pussyfooting, corpos, and then I think there was another one. I don't remember now.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'll use smaller words. I know Americans struggle with it.
All right. I'm taking this thing back down to one passive voices. I'm just going to get up here and talk. Anyway, so I think we kind of covered the next one there, so I'll just skip over it and say endgame is pretty different this league compared to what it was, for pretty much since the Atlas tree, right? I feel like the Atlas tree was the last really big endgame rework, and now this league. There's a lot to unpack here. I think let's start, if it's all the same to you all, let's start with the Scarabs, just because that's where we were already kind of touching. So Scarabs are Sextants are Scarabs, but more. What do you all think? Just, again, it's kind of hard to look at these in isolation, but maybe it's worth a shot. You all go wherever you want, but I'll open the floor. What do you all think about the endgame Scarab rework?
I have a bit of a concern that because you can only use 4 scarabs and every strategy requires 3 or 4 scarabs, like if you're going to do breach, you need to go all in on breach. Because of that, every Atlas tree ends up being one thing plus scarab farm. And that has made scarabs entirely worthless. Outside of the ones that are being used for tier 17 farming, every single one of them is a half a chaos. And I think that's really unfortunate because some of the beauty of the Atlas tree introduction was you can now invest into a couple of different things or even a bunch of different things and really have like a dynamic farming strategy. And now it feels like you either do breach or you do legion or you do this. It's just kind of one thing. And then you've got 30 points left. So you just go, all right, let's get, alter pack size. Let's get scarabs and maybe some quant on the tree. And it feels like every strategy is kind of the same, but you just change out what the one thing you're doing is. Now, obviously, that's not true across the board. I'm sure people are going to say, yeah, but sure, there's a few other strategies that you can do. But generally, when you're trying to have a very diverse endgame, you want it to be dynamic and interesting. And I feel like we're all kind of getting pigeonholed into one strategy at a time. And I don't love that quite as much as the old way of 3 to 4 things.
That's a good point. I didn't really notice that until you said it, but now that you've said it, that's exactly what I was experiencing this league. Everything felt like I'm doing essences, and it's all essences, and all the scarabs are essence scarabs, and that's the thing. And then exactly like you said, oh, I've got 30 points. Let's just throw on scarab chance to find. Versus previous leagues where it'd be like I'm doing expedition and breach and harbingers, those 3. So yeah, I think the Scarab rework is interesting. It has a lot of potential, but you're right, it does seem to be pigeonholing you into doing one specific thing and going all in on it. Whoops. And then I mean, the outcomes you can get are insane going all in on harbinger. But then I guess if you're doing, let's say, Harbinger and Expedition, you feel like, I should probably drop one of these and I can get the max value out of Expedition.
Yes. I agree. I don't necessarily hate it, the fact that that's the way it is. I feel like to some degree, Atlas strategies before this league were... You could almost go too wide, in my opinion, like with where you could go for Atlas strategies before, but maybe that's the level of flexibility that people enjoy. I think I tend to agree that I prefer a little bit more in the middle of what we have now versus what we had then. I like the fact that you can basically, for example, using Harbingers as an example, right? You can take Harbingers and just juice them to the maximum and like get the craziest possible jackpot, right? Like that's cool. Like I like that you can do that, but I don't like that you have to do that to play Harbinger, basically. I feel, we were talking about this a little bit the other day on stream, and I was saying like maybe a potential solution to that is more map slots, like more Atlas map slots on the map device. Like maybe that would be a solution. Maybe it makes sense to combine some of the scarabs so that way there's just like fewer. So let's say like the Harbinger scarab that makes it so the one that drops in like gives them a King Harby, but also the one that makes it so they drop rare currencies, just like merge them so that way you have like basically the idea I'm getting at here is freeing up map device slots so you can have like these like multi-pronged Atlas strategies. Maybe that's the approach. I don't necessarily hate this as like a first attempt at like, in my opinion, paring down an extremely bulky system previously with sextants. I think that there's a lot of room to be improved, but I don't think that this is like, I don't know. I don't mind the current system as it is. I do think that there's a lot that can be added and be improved upon. But I don't hate the idea of like singular focus Atlas strategies as a core because that, to be honest, but the previous system didn't really allow for that, right? Like it was kind of like if you were just doing like, let's say I really like, I just love Blight, like, which is true. I just love Blight, and I'm like, I just want to run Blights. It's almost like impossible to have done just a Blight strat and not been like wasting 50 points on your tree last 10 leagues or whatever, whenever they introduce the Atlas tree. So it kind of goes both ways, but I think I would like something more in the middle of what we have now and what we had then, personally.
Yeah. What if you could right-click a Scarab and then click it on your map, and then your map gets like infected by the Scarab, and there was no limit? You just put out like 200 Scarabs.
I'm so glad you don't work for
No
GGG.
limit.
No, I'm just joking. That would be maybe for like a meme league, just infinite map slot device, infinite map device slots. But yeah, you're right. Last league, you couldn't go 100% all in. And now this league, it kind of feels like you have to go 100% all in on a single strat. So
yeah,
maybe they look. I have faith. I'm sure they will figure something out. They always do something so clever that you just never thought about. I don't think I've never seen people speaking about, just reworking the entire Scarab system and like getting rid of Sextants. That's just such a off the wall idea that I would never have even just thought of it as a thing, but they go ahead and they do it. So I think we're in the wacky testing phase, and then hopefully next year they're gonna make some tweaks. Like you said, I really like the idea of maybe blending multiple Scarabs together. So instead of just having an essence Scarab that's like you have 2 additional essences in your map, it's like 2 additional essences in your map and all rares in your map are like, I don't know, essencified, that kind of thing. And that way you can get that balance of multiple strats.
Yeah. I think that we kind of talked about this in our pre-league podcast a bit, and I'll say it again because I still agree with this sentence that I said before, is I think that the new system as it stands gives them a lot of room to just build it out further. I think the Sextants and the Scarabs kind of like effectively living in isolation, but interacting with each other, and like these like weird things where it's like you could have like a Scarab that has like a Blight encounter, but you can't have also the Sextant. Like, what I mean? There's like all these like rules and stuff. I think this system is far more scalable into the future, and I still agree with that sentiment. But yeah. I do think that there's a lot of iteration that needs to occur. I think a lot of the Scarabs need to be rebalanced. I still think there's some Scarabs that are just like, they're cool and they're kind of like quirky and weird and they do weird interactions, but they're just not that good. And they need to be changed. And on the pricing thing, that era that you were mentioning, generally speaking, there are, to your point, there are some Scarabs that are like, if you're buying 5, 10, 15 at a time, or whatever the divine to X price is, generally speaking, there are a lot that are just totally worthless, right? And they're worth like significantly less than Chaos Orbs, and it's like, I don't know, it just I don't know if that should ever be the case. Like Scarabs that are so cheap that they're like actually 400 to 1. It's crazy. It's like, why do those even need to exist? Just like merge them into like 2 Scarabs or juice them up, something. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential here still. And I don't hate this as like a first stab at cleaning up the end game juicing, for lack of a better word. Yeah, I don't know.
I'd like to just kind of finish, at least
please.
My original thought. I started with a critique, but I don't only feel negative about Scarabs. I actually quite like the rework in that I love that they're taking chances. It was definitely a big risk to do this, and I think it paid off in that no one liked using Sextants. I don't think anybody liked using them.
Sextant rolling was cringe.
So cringe. I never did that. So I like that they took away Sextants. I like that Scarabs are more powerful. I definitely think they need to be iterated on, and they will. They always do. So I think that this is definitely the right direction. It just needs a little bit of work.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, and maybe we can talk about this now or what, but there's a lot of like really cool Scarabs that are actually insanely strong, that I've been just printing with. I mean, like we were going to talk about some of the Atlas strategies, but and maybe we pause on that till after the T17 discussion. But there's like a lot of cool scarabs that they added this league that are net new mechanics or net new twists to existing mechanics that are very cool. And I think that there's gonna, and the cool thing is like those live in isolation, and as things change around them, they will also change in power. So I think that'll have some really cool potential.
Yeah.
In terms of like, there's some scarabs that are so generic that they will play into things that don't even exist right now. Do you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of scarabs that do X to all monsters in your map, and you're like, okay, this is cool, and then like it's not super useful right now, or maybe it is, or whatever. And like next league, they're gonna change this and do this, and all these scarabs can like work with each other in weird ways, which kind of again emphasizes why I think there kind of needs to be a little middle ground between like the multi-pronged Atlas approaches of last league and the singular of this league, so that way you can have these kind of like weird, quirky interactions. There are a few strats that utilize this, but not that many. And I feel like over time, as they add more scarabs, as they theoretically iterate on this, it could that could be expanded upon. So I think there's a lot of cool potential. I'm excited to see where it goes. T17s. I know this is gonna be a spicy one. I saw Lolcohol's face tighten, cringe has befallen him. I'm gonna go last. I'm gonna let you guys go first. So you T17's thoughts. Lolcohol sent me a DM just before this saying, please don't tell everyone I love T17s. I love them so much. I can't leave T17s. I quit my job to run T17s. Anyway.
Oh boy. All right. I guess I will go. Again, bear in mind what I said about I like GG taking risks and doing crazy stuff, but T17s might be one of the worst things ever added to the game. I hate them. They broke the economy. They have the potential to break build diversity in future leagues if they aren't adjusted, because they were meant to be aspirational content, but instead now I expect people will expect league starters to be able to handle them. And if that's the case, well, then we're going to have a meta of like 3 builds, which sucks. And of course, you're going to get the questions, oh, can it do tier 17s? Like, it just, they are so overtuned that they are very limiting and also frustrating, because you can have incredibly tanky builds that just get deleted in them. Also, the multipliers on them they just make them so much better to run than tier 16s that kind of, if you feel like you're not running tier 17s, you're kind of like clowning a bit. You're just missing out so much to such a huge extent by not running any tier 16. Is there any tier 16 strat that like even comes close to a tier 17 strat? I think there were some, but those got nerfed. But oh man, I was watching Fubgun do tier 17s with his like tornado shot, and just the drops were so insane, just completely insane. Just stacks of 8 doctors dropping, and that's just normal now in those. This is post nerfs of other strats. I don't know. They really, 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 really need to work on those. And if people's expectation is that league starters need to be able to do tier 17s, then, well, fuck, play RF. I don't know. It's gonna suck. Anyway, Arrow, what do you think?
I'll jump in. I think tier 17s are awful for Path of Exile. I think my reasoning is different than a lot of people. I don't think they're fun. Again, if they weren't shitting out loot, would people want to run maps that you have to chaos spam and that have mods that shut off all builds? So not every mod obviously shuts off all builds, but ones that are just like, if you have a totem, you're dead. Like, those mods are so incredibly unfun. And they told us the last time they talked about this, we're going to try to move away from basically toggle switches of fully chaos immune, fully fire immune that just shuts off a fire build. And now these tier 17s are, this shuts off mines, this shuts off builds that stand still. And those are just all the mods. All the tier 17 mods are like that. I don't think that's fun. I don't think anyone's enjoying that portion of them. Making them more challenging is fine. Add more layers of difficulty, add, more life, but like Union of Souls for the whole map. Am I going to be in this map for 3 hours so I can kill everything? Or no, you just roll over it. And I don't think it's fun to spend 40 Chaos Orbs to make a tier 17 map runnable. They should be, oh, okay, there's like 3 mods I can't do, and that's it. Like, that feels like a balance. So tier 17s just aren't fun. They're bad for the game in that now tier 17 mapping is the new standard, like Lolcohol was saying. Can this build do tier 17s? Well, if it can't, it's shit, right? Like, that's where we're headed. And most builds can't do tier 17s, even the good ones, because the truth is you just have to roll the map. If you roll the map long enough, any build can do a tier 17. So it's not a fun mechanic to just roll Chaos Orbs until it's doable, in my opinion. And I not to even mention the tier, that Ubers are locked behind tier 17s now, so we have to do them in order to do Uber bosses. It's created a very strange economy that I don't think is great.
I completely agree with Arrow. I know. Really.
Wait, we said the same thing.
No. You guys made pretty different points, I think. I don't agree. So I haven't barely run T17s this league because, like you were mentioning, Arrow, I don't find them fun. I don't like rolling them. I get in there, I get one shot by those motherfuckers with the geyser, and I'm like, if I see those geyser guys one more time, I'm gonna blow a gasket and punch a hole through my monitor. So I don't go in there because those guys specifically. However, I don't feel. I think this has been like a sentiment. I actually perused the Reddit in preparation. I was doing a little on the ground research in preparation for this podcast. I was on Reddit just like seeing what like people were thinking, and I was going through it, and I don't feel this FOMO. I don't feel bad at all not running T17s. I'm just like, oh, I'm just not gonna do them because I don't like them. I don't think they're fun. I don't want to do them. So I'm just like running my ultimatum boss strat, printing divines that way. Like I really don't feel this FOMO thing. And I think that's kind of like this weird, how do they tackle that? You know what I mean? Like that aspect of it. And I think the way to do it that if I were to guess that they're likely going to fall on is they're going to nerf the shit out of T17s, right? Like they're going to make them so they're not nearly as rewarding. Maybe they disconnect them from the Atlas. Maybe they remove back to basics. There's 100 different ways they could approach this, but I don't care personally that I'm not running them as their most efficient strat. Like that doesn't bother me at all personally. There's always been these strategies, whether they're at the forefront of the community visibility point or not, that blow 10 to 15 divine mapping strategies out of the water by a mile. Like it's like there's always been these strategies. This one is just kind of like weirdly, because it's new and because it's I think relatively accessible compared to these other strategies. It's kind of like it's become a problem because of that, in my opinion. I don't think though that this is like new as a concept, that there are strategies that the 75 kids, 25 wives, dad gamers logging into PoE 1 hour a month, they've never had access to some of these strategies, like ever. There's always been strategies that are way out there. This one is just kind of like weirdly being placed as something that they should be able to do but can't. I don't know. I don't feel that this matters to me though, because I'm just like, I just don't find them fun, so I just ignore them personally. Mm-hmm.
I know what you mean. I think from our perspective, I think it's maybe a little bit frustrating because if you want to do guides and things and build guides and strategy guides,
yes,
the expectation from not the vast majority, but a lot of people is, I want to do the best thing that makes the most money on the fastest build. And basically, the best thing that makes the most money is some insane tier 17 strat. And if you're not doing that, like I haven't put out any guide things this league really, because everything I tried just like didn't. It was like an order of magnitude worse than any tier 17 strat. And I just know that the comments would have been like, Omega lol, 7D per hour, lol, this is shit. But yeah,
but then
that's why,
again, the counter to that, right, is like Empy, who's like been putting out pretty much
Exactly.
I know we already kind of talked about this, but
yeah, 100%. And this league has been so enlightening to me on that front. Just, I mean, I don't know if we're going to go into this later, but just like as a content creator, this league has been incredibly frustrating, but so enlightening and interesting to like navigate. And I hope that things will be better in future. But yeah, like seeing the majority of content creators' channels just doing really badly or much worse than average, and then seeing MP like doing so unbelievably well, having his best YouTube league ever with the most views and like the most subscribers, made me go like, holy shit, I don't need to be doing, you know, the guide thing. I don't need to be stressing myself out, because it's so stressful, because I was running so many strats and I'm like, I'm going to run 50 maps of this strat, and then I'm going to run 50 maps of this strat, and then see the results, and then tweak the tree, and like the amount of time that goes into it. And just like in the back of your head, you're like, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, this is not good enough, like I'm not making enough currency, it's taking too long, I've spent so many hours on this, and then like this isn't good enough, I don't get a video. Whereas Ampy, he's just like, fuck it, we're doing ritual today, and then he puts out a video and it gets like 200,000 views just because he's just playing the game and having fun. So yeah, it's been frustrating but really cool to see. Anyway,
no, I
bit of a
think
tangent.
no, it's relevant though, because I think that it kind of like it. To me, it kind of showed that there's like a lot of people who are looking for things that are not T17 content, right? Like people want to know, like, what else can we do? And again, as somebody personally who literally has barely touched T17s, I'm like, I'm also curious. Like, there's so many new Atlas strategies. I'm like, what are people running that's not T17 content? Because again, I don't think they're fun, so I don't want to run them. And I'm looking at all these other things, and you know, it's kind of this weird thing, because the funny thing is, like, Empy is just, I bring him up just purely because, again, this, but also they do group play, and it's like group play has been insane for so long, and it's like there's no reason besides like the cumbersome aspect of having to get more than one person that you can play with consistently. Group play is T17 farming. They're making so much fucking currency, and it's like it's kind of funny. Like, people are like looking. Sorry, say again.
I said we'll bleep that out.
Sorry, Eric. Can you whip your hands for me in the air? So I have that locked in. He's doing it. Nice. But you kind of get where I'm going here. Is like that. There's this strategy. There's no reason why people in the past shouldn't have been like, imagine making 10D an hour Omega Lull when you could just be duoing MF. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's always been these strategies. It's just T17s are kind of like weirdly positioned as being like, come on in, let's do some T17s. It's easy. Like, everyone can do T17s. And it's like, and now everyone's like, why aren't you doing T17s? Like, T17s are insane. You know what I mean? Like, it's this weird, there's this weird thing, but like, there's always been these strategies, which is why I don't really understand like this FOMO, because I'm like, I hate group play. I hate like playing in like a group of 5 people. Like, I literally can't even imagine a worse PoE experience for me. And I'm like, but I always knew those strategies were out there and people are going to be printing with them. But it's like so I always know that you're already inherently, for years, whether you've known or not, you've been doing a suboptimal strategy. Always. Anytime you play by yourself, you're playing suboptimally, right? It's so it's like, I don't know. I don't get it. I really don't get it. I don't get the FOMO because it's like this has always existed, but for some reason T17s are like invading people's like will to play.
Psyche.
Yeah.
I think we
Arrow,
can blame
I gotta
Ben,
hear
to be
your
honest.
perspective.
I think this is Ben's fault. He has just been absolutely popping
shit.
off and just playing great builds, and he's incredibly good at the game, and he's deleting tier 17s and making all kinds of money. And everyone, guys, we're just not all Ben, okay? We all can't be Ben. Yeah, I don't personally feel the FOMO, but I feel the community feeling the FOMO. And so as a creator, most of my experience in the game is streaming or making a YouTube video. So my experience of the game is as a content creator. So not everybody can relate to that, but I feel the community's FOMO because so many people come to me and they're like, I can't make any money. I see, Fubgun just dropped 11 mirrors and he didn't even pick them up because he didn't have any space in his inventory. Like, they want to make the most money, and I get that. So I want, not for me, but for the community, I want tier 17s to not be the standard of mapping, because we are going to go to a world where there are 4 total builds that can do these effectively, and it's just going to be, that's more boring.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think we need to just start thinking about how content is presented, where you absolutely can do a video on a strategy that is not the best strategy, and it's not the most efficient, and obviously there's better stuff, but the moment you start packaging it as, here's the spreadsheet, here's the div per hour, these are the things you need, this is this, then there's like a certain expectation. Whereas if you do something different, which is just, this is what I'm doing today, let's see what happens, like maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, and then you turn that into video, it's way more accessible. And then also you might at the end of it be like, that was actually a pretty good strat, we made like 7 divs per hour, and someone might watch that and be like, that looks pretty fun, that's pretty cool. Whereas I think, at least from my perspective, I've been feeling like everything is so optimized, and even the content has become so optimized that it's been almost scary to not do that. But I'm kind of, is this making sense?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this, it boils down to community perception and the things that are top of mind for the community. Because again, like I can't remember who in your chat said this the other day, Arrow, and I thought this made me laugh so hard. They're like, if the community thinks a strategy is dead, typically that means it prints.
Yeah.
And
Shout
I was
out
just
Crimson.
like, I was like, it's so true. Like there's like the community has been saying for like they're like, they just, Ultimatum sucked last league, so they just wrote it off. And everyone's like, Ultimatum sucks. And I literally made like 200 divines, like in 100 maps, blasting Ultimatum bosses. Like it prints, like it prints, and it's kind of like, like I don't necessarily like. Does it compare to T17s? I don't really care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's
And
kind of
think-
like you get what I mean. Like I won't drill any further.
I think that's like the community is taking a note out of the content they're seeing, and a lot of the content that has been popular for a long time has been about optimization and like, this must be perfect. So they have that in their head, but it doesn't need to be that way. You could put out a video where you're like, hell yeah, here's just a highlight reel of like 50 ultimatums, and it's just like almost pogging out about, check this out, like having a good time. That sounds like a way more fun strategy guide, where it's just almost a highlight reel of like all the crazy stuff that you're finding in Ultimatum. Someone might watch that and be like, that looks super fun, I want to do that, and they don't give a shit about the div per hour. We need to start making more content like that, instead of the, I ran 247 of this strategy, these are the scarabs you need, here's the atlas tree, this is the build you need, I made 40.378 divines per hour, the investment was 9.2 div per map, and I just need to do some like future projections on the price of scarabs after this video. So it'll probably be like 19.8 div per map. So you can get an expected return of 4.78 divines per map. Like, fuck off. That's so boring, dude.
Who is that impression of? Just out of curiosity.
See... What?
Who is that impression of? Just so we can get that on paper.
Like 90% of PoE content creators right now.
You hear that, everybody else that's not us?
I'm guilty of it. I want to see an Omicid strategy guide where it's just your stream finding the coolest shit in Ultimatum. I want to watch that video, and I think you need to do
a lot of cool shit.
Do it. Make it a video. Make it a video.
I might. Yeah, I did think about it, and then
It's a thought that counts.
Got lazy.
God damn it.
But I think I can still do it. I still got most of the, I mean, I've got the VODs. So.
Yeah.
No, it was cool. I honestly, maybe this is a good moment to, well, let me pause. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add to the T17 discussion? I feel like we went a lot of different directions on it, which is good. But is there anything else you all wanted to touch on? Arrow, Lolcohol?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah. I know they'll change it.
Yeah, I was going to say the last thing I would note is that I would imagine this is going to receive some significant balance passing. Whatever that looks like, who knows? But I think I do think it's going to change a lot next league. And I mean, again, going back to the earlier point, this is clearly like a super experimental league. They're trying new things. They're changing this. They're changing that. They're trying to see how can we make the end game better. And again, they're not going to. I think they definitely struck out on certain things, but I'm curious to see what they do in 3.25 with it, because I do think it's going to change almost certainly. So in terms of Atlas strats that you have been running, just because we were kind of touching on that, what have you all been doing that you have enjoyed? Again, all of us seem to dislike T17s just in general, just don't find them fun. So what have you been doing that you liked, that you were able to do this league?
I have been strong boxing for got to be a couple weeks now. I love strong boxes. They're a very fun mechanic. You click it, tons of monsters pop out, and then if you have explode, which my current build does, they all get deleted. It's a very satisfying way to engage with packs, just like popping them up and deleting them. And it's been dropping a lot of stuff. So I've basically been focusing on dropping Allflames, Graves, and then just like generic loot. So I'm doing it in Defiled Cathedral, and we just add some strong boxes and just run the map. It's not very challenging, which is really nice. Dropped at Apothecary, like 10 maps in, which was pretty cool. Some 7 years bad lucks, duping divines and strong boxes, and then dropping a boatload of Allflames, which I am gathering to test some Allflame strategies. At some point, I have a little over a quad tab of Allflames right now, so I'm going to be testing some strategies coming soon.
He's teasing it, chat. He's teasing
it. Yeah, like and subscribe.
That sounds good.
Like and subscribe for hashtag Allflame content.
Yeah.
Get it trending. Mr. Kahal?
I've done a lot of fun strategies this league. That was my aim going in, just have a good time. And I did do some stuff that was great. I'm kicking myself now because I kind of didn't have this paradigm shift in terms of content creation, which, I mean, also like big thank you to Guitaraholic. We spoke a lot this league about that. And there were absolutely videos I wish I had put out now. But at the time, I was a bit frustrated because I wasn't making enough money to justify putting out a video. But stuff like essences are mega fun. The calcified essence, where just all the rare monsters are now essences, and you've got like 25 essences in your map. That shit is awesome, man. The problem is that it wasn't that profitable, but it was super fun. I also did probably the best strat I figured out was eventually just how farming tier 17s, when I say that, like actual tier 17 map drops, that was the most div per hour strat. I enjoyed doing that. Also farming corpses, that was a terrible mistake. I farmed 30. They're not all full, but I think like 37 tabs and 2 quad tabs of corpses, and I'm like, right, time to sell. And then I was like, oh my god, this is like 70 full trade windows, and I just didn't sell any of them.
You have 37 tabs, not
Yes.
quad tabs.
Well, then they're not. No. There's probably like 37 tabs, and probably about 20 are completely full. The other 17 are like 50% full, and then 2 quad tabs. There's like 2,000 or more corpses.
That is an inhumane number of regular tabs. That's
Jesus
insane.
Christ.
The last craft I did in the graveyard, I fucking lost it because I had that many corpses and I still had to go out and buy more. I was like, fuck this. I hate this. This sucks.
I have this mental image of you just like getting to the graveyard, sleep deprived. You've been farming 37 tabs of corpses. You get there and it's like, you're missing one beast fracture.
No, not one, like 7. So there's been a lot of cool strats. I would love to actually, the idea of doing what MP is doing now, just like, I'm going to do ritual. Fuck it. Let's see what happens. I'm so keen. I'm actually really excited for next league, just on that front of just what kind of content can I make? What can we just do that is fun and can turn into content? So I think next league is going to be cool because I did do a lot of fun stuff. It just wasn't the most efficient, and in my headspace at the time, I felt it wasn't worthy of creating a video out of it. So I found it very frustrating when I was doing it. That makes sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. I will say, to respond to that, I guarantee you, there are still strategies out there that people have not found yet, and have potential to be, really run and show people that it's super good. I think there's a lot of stuff. So just to say that you can still do it is my point, but it's just throwing it out there. But this league, I've been kind of taking a similar approach to MP. I actually felt like a couple times I was like 1 or 2 days behind him in terms of like the exact strat that he was gonna run. I'm gonna do like this really like intricate blight strat, and then like I'd get it all set up, and then I would see him put out the video, and I was like, that's the exact strat that I was planning to just start today. I'm not trying to make a video just to like run on my own. And I was like, okay, so like we're thinking similarly. The main one though, so I ran a ton of Ultimatum. Ultimatum, absolutely a printer. I didn't do the one he did though. So he was doing like farming the actual Ultimatums themselves, whereas I was really mostly trying to get to the boss. And I did like 200 Ultimatum bosses or something like that. I had so many. And it was really fun. I like the Trial Master. It's like cool. I dropped a ton of those shields, which are 4 divines each. So I was just selling those like crazy. I was getting tons of catalysts from him, tainted catalysts. I was selling them like 25 to 1. That was pretty fun. I got an apothecary from Ultimatum. That was pretty cool. It didn't dupe. I got baited. But the other strat that I really run a ton this league that we were kind of talking about in your chat just earlier, Arrow, was that T17 strat Lolcohol that you mentioned. And I don't know what you did specifically, but I was doing the one with the Horn Scarab Pandemonium, where you get 15% chance for a map boss to replace the pack, and that is so beyond nuts. I was getting like 70 or 80 T17s for every like 100 maps I was running, and on top of like Conquerors, synthesized maps, Guardians. I mean, I was running Shaper Guardian rotations, and I was over sustaining my Shaper Guardians by like 2x or 3x.
Whoa. Wait, so all those nodes on the tree that have map bosses have a chance to drop Conquer maps, that works with those Pandemonium Scarabs? Oh shit. That sounds awesome.
So basically I was coming in with like I don't know, like 15 or 20. I ran a 48 map rotation, right? Because like 4 sets of 4. And I did it for 48 maps, and I think I ended up with like 125 Shaper Guardians at the end. More. So I was like over sustaining Shaper Guardians, selling the sets, selling the T17s. Like Honestly, I've been running some of the T17s for the challenge, but I sold all the other ones. The interesting thing is too, right? Because it's not just like T17s have a baseline price. You can sell the ones that have like decently high mods, like more scarabs and barrels, whatever the T17 people are farming. And I've been selling maps for like 2-3 divines each for a T17, depending on what they are. There's a lot of basically it's like the strategy, right? Like when there's a gold rush, sell pickaxes kind of thing.
100%.
So I've been doing a lot of that. I did a lot of Alva. Alva Timeline Scarab is busted, absolutely busted. I don't know. There's so many.
Which
cool
one is
things.
that?
I've just started doing the Alva Timeline Scarab.
Yeah.
It's so what it does is it at the last the last incursion that you run in a map drops a itemized temple with random, so it's the same temple layout that you have, but with random tiers of the rooms. So let's say you have just a tier 1 catalyst corruption room or whatever, like the one that turns into a locust. It can, if you have just a tier 1 in that, you have a 1 in 3 chance when it drops the itemized temple to drop a locust temple, and you can do this every single map. So as long as you have, so as long as you have a like a corruption room, which is really the only one that's worth anything right now, a corruption room and maybe a Doriani's. Honestly, at the very least, as long as you have a connected apex, you will at least break even. So you're good. But if you have a locust, which is really what the primary goal is, as long as you have any corruption room in there, you have a 1 in 3 chance to drop a full locust every single map. So there were some maps, like some like rotation sets where you're doing, let's see, like four maps to an Alva temple. I was getting like 3 locust temples per set. Like I had that multiple times. It's obviously it's RNG dependent, right? Like you're not going to hit it. Sometimes you get 0, sometimes you get 1, sometimes you get all 4. Like it's going to vary, but you should theoretically get 1 every 1 in 3 on average. And I was making like 8, 9 temples with locusts sometimes per hour, and like that's just like in and out white maps, running Alva, leaving, going in and out. I mean, like I was in these maps for like 2 minutes, and you're just going super fast, and that actually comboed really well with the ultimatum strat that I was doing, because I was running the ultimatum maps white as well, because I was just trying to get to the boss. So I was running white maps, rushing the ultimatum, rushing the Alvas, leaving, rinse and repeat. No rolling, no map rolling, literally the easiest possible setup, and I made tons of divines doing that. I don't know, there's like cool stuff in there. But yeah, what else? And I just started doing harvest yesterday. I wanted to try the imbued
harvest is so cool.
Yeah. I want to try the imbued harvest strat, so I just started that yesterday, which is cool. Yeah, I've been, honestly, my Discord and my community, they've been like posting a lot of cool strategies, and I've been like yoinking them where they seem cool. And the Alva strat was something. I mean, it's relatively self-explanatory within the scope of the Scarab itself, but someone in my Discord mentioned it. I originally was like, that Scarab looks like bait, and then I tried it, and it's actually sick. But the ultimatum boss one is another person mentioned it to me, and I've tested it extensively, and it's really fun. There's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah,
I think if you ignore the whole div per hour and comparing and T17 thing, the Scarab rework and just the endgame rework on a fun level is fucking amazing. Just the creativity with the Scarabs they've got some of them are so cool. And the great thing about it is that it's no longer the Scarabs are no longer kind of linear, where they do the same thing, but the next one is just better. They could just I don't know, maybe Octavian has a dream one night, wakes up the next morning, and it's like, dude, I had this dream last night where, I don't know, harbingers there's just one harbinger, and that's the only monster in the map, but it drops like, I don't know, 17,000 shards, and that's the whole map. I don't know, just weird, wacky stuff. They can just do fun. They can do fun stuff with it. And if you get out of the whole div per hour mindset, I think it's an amazing change to the game.
Sorry, Arrow, any comment? I saw you make a face as Mr. Cahal was describing the Octavian Dream Scarab.
It's just episode 6,435 of I'm So Glad Lolcohol is not a developer at Grinding Gear Games.
Hey, I'm just... okay. I would break the game very quickly.
He's just drunk on chocolate milk.
He must have had too much
What if they dropped
milkies.
the whole map shards?
No, but I mean, like,
map
Guitaraholic's got a
shards.
good idea. Just like there is no monsters in the map, just the whole map is blight lanes. Why not?
They have that. It's called blighted
That
maps.
already exists. Yeah, what
It's
the
called
hell?
blighted
What are you
maps.
doing?
Imagine if imagine Lolcohol invents blight maps and then goes to GGG and he's like, wait till you guys hear this.
All right, picture this.
Anyway, I think there's a lot of cool stuff. Like, and the fact that I will say, like, of all of the roller coaster changes they've made this league, you know, buffs, nerfs, hot fixes, whatever, like introducing like what was it, 7 or 8 new, pretty like interesting scarabs just mid league, like 4-5 weeks into league. That's kind of cool. I like they started doing that in like Sanctum, I feel like, right when they did the unique relics, and I love that. I hope they keep doing that because it's cool. It's like a little bit of like that's kind of like something new to try like 3 weeks in after you think you've quote like solved it, even though this league nothing felt solved. But generally speaking, I thought that was cool. Anything else here? I feel like I talked for a long time on
Me
this one,
too.
so I'm gonna shut up.
We all
Aaron,
felt
do you have
that way.
What'd you say?
I said we all felt that way. No,
Oh
it was
my
very insightful. I enjoyed it.
All right, cool. Builds. All right, now this is where I'm going to stop talking. What builds have you played and enjoyed? Era, I feel like you're the probably play the most builds this league. You probably play the most builds every league. You
That's
are
true.
the Mathel of the 3 passive voices.
That's actually
that's
a title I've strived for a long time, to be the Mathel
Wow.
of 3 passive voices. So here we are.
I know. It's like the Paris of the Midwest type thing.
Oh, that felt like a dig. As far as builds,
Oh, it was a joke.
I've played I think 5 now, and I've had a lot of fun with new builds this league. I had a great league start with Ice Trap of Hollowness. It went really well. I've played tanky builds. I've played speedy builds. The Power Siphon build that I played on like a 20 div budget was probably my favorite feeling build so far. But the problem that I kept feeling with every single one of them is like, do I want to push this to try to do tier 17 farming? And every single time I get like towards the end of kind of making the build and I just go, no, I don't care. And then I move on to the next one. The Forbidden Right Pathfinder I played could face tank the tier 17 bosses, and I still didn't like doing tier 17s with it because it just felt like I was still getting randomly one shot by whatever mods were lining up wrong. But I really have truly enjoyed this league a lot. I'm currently playing a Tornado Inquisitor. It has the Orith's End Flask, which I actually don't use very much. And I've scaled some AoE, and it's just tornadoes are blowing up the screen. And I'm having a lot of fun with that. So probably a new build tomorrow. I think maybe build 7 tomorrow. But yeah, really enjoying build making right now. I think the game is in a phenomenal place for regular tier 16 and pinnacle content build diversity. So really excited to keep making more stuff this league.
Cool.
I saw your video this morning. I watched I watched you play it on stream, but I watched the video this morning of the Forbidden Right Pathfinder. That build is sick. That build looked really cool. Just watching you, that was a great showcase, by the way. Just watching you just tank the Searing Exarch balls.
Yeah.
That's primo content right there. Mr. Cahal. I don't know why I keep calling you that, by the way, but it just kind of feels right.
It's fine. I'll take it. It's a sign of respect. I started with Lightning Strike, had a great time with it, lots of fun. I got to the point where I was kind of transitioning it into a more endgamey version. And what's really cool about Lightning Strike is you can take it in so many different directions. You can go like Omni, or you can go Mahu Zotals, or you can go like Arcing Deadeye. I think I kind of burned out before I really went all in on that, because I was at the point where I was like, this build does tier 16s like really fast already, and that's what I'm enjoying doing. And if I want to, I don't know, I was just having like a bit of a internal mental conflict subconsciously where I was like, what am I trying to achieve now? Am I trying to get this thing to do tier 17s? And like, if not, then why am I trying to push it further? I think that's kind of what Arrow was saying, where he was like, you reach a limit where you're like, am I going to try take this into tier 17s? And then you kind of go, and not really. Like, I'm not that interested in it. So I did that. I don't know. I doubt I'll go back to it. Then now I'm doing EA Ballista Totems in hardcore private league, and I've barely been playing TBH, but I will probably keep going on that until, I don't know, we'll see. We'll do like Diablo 4 or something else.
Fair enough.
Yeah. D4 bad.
How about you? You said D4 bad? Yeah, D4 bad, but we'll see. At least we get good memes out of it.
Yeah, it's true. Endless memes. I've actually played a ton of way more builds this league than I usually do. I've had a really good time trying new stuff. I started with Exang Miner with new automation gem. Mines are unreal. So good. Like, I can't even express to you how fun mines are with the automation gem. It makes them feel like self-cast, but they're just a better version. So it's pretty fun. And then what did I do next? Then I re-rolled into Fire BV Inquisitor, but I ended up doing Fire 50% or like 70% Fire, 30% Cold. That was pretty cool. That's what I farmed Ultimatum with. It was a really good Ultimatum farmer because you just like put your BV up, run around in circles, and then it kills everything, and it's really easy. It's very mobile. So that was what I did that with, and that build was really fun. I took that build really far. I took that build. I built that once before. When I did before they nerfed Kaums 2 leagues ago. I did it with like a full rage uptime, Kaums full life regen, that whole package, and that was pretty cool. So I kind of rebuilt it without that, and it was pretty fun. And then I tried to make hit-based EK Rage Zerker with the new helm, and I just didn't like the way it felt. I could never get the cast speed that I was hoping for, and I tried the Soul Ascension gloves, and I don't think I was putting enough rares in my maps, and I was like, okay, let me try this with the Pandemonium Scarab strat, because you're getting uniques, but I don't know. It just didn't feel that great to me, so I backed out of it, and now I'm doing Molten Strike of the Zenith Trickster with Energy Blade, and that's pretty cool. I'm not doing the Math will put out a video for it. I'm doing a different version without Abyss. I think he was doing Abyss stacking. And that has been sick. That build is super fun. And it's really consistent and really tanky. And it's really good for like the Pandemonium strat that I've been primarily running. It's just like you stand still, Arctic Armor, and you just pop molten balls everywhere with Nimbus, and they fly back to you. And every 5th hit, you're doing 1 billion damage. It's really fun. So I'm on build 4. I was thinking about build 5 like maybe next week, but truth be told, I have a really busy May like personally, so I don't know how much time I'm gonna have. But so I've had a lot of fun with builds this league too. And again, I haven't touched T17, so like in like a consistent way. So like you, Arrow, I've been like, oh, this is cool. I can try out like a bunch of these cool T16 farming builds and doing all that. But yeah, I don't know. I've had a good time with builds this league. I've had a really good time. So cool.
Yeah, nice.
Can your build do tier 17s?
I'm so glad you asked. This build destroys T17s. It is a well-rounded beast that makes T17s look like white maps.
Can you do that without Nimbus though? Because I can't afford it.
Sorry, I meant to disconnect from Discord there.
I can't afford Nimbus. Also, how do I put a Mage Blood in the build?
Mage Blood is in the build. Okay, do you know me?
Okay, how do I take it out? I just want to make it different.
How do I take it out? Tides of Time, baby. Tides of Time. That build is cracked.
Incredible.
That build is cracked.
That
I'm
thing
addicted
is so
to
good.
it. I'm like Captain Lance with Balbala. I can't stop using it.
Yeah, somebody came into my stream the other day and they're like, "Holy shit! Finally, an energy blade build that doesn't use that annoying flask." And I was like, "So true. I hate that flask." Of course, getting elixir is so annoying.
Yeah.
I did that last league, and I could not stand that. But yeah, it's yeah, playing without Nimbus. Imagine being poor. Anyway, cool. I think we're pretty much right at the end here. Maybe we could do the prediction for next league thing. I'm cool skipping it, and we just go to Q&A if there's any questions that we didn't cover. If you guys
go to the audience.
Arrow. Yeah, go to the audience. Audience? Did we miss anything? I know Guitaraholic mentioned at the beginning that we skipped over was like the league mechanic with the like being forced onto each map, which is like the first time I think we've had that in a very, very long time, where you haven't been able to opt out. Personally, I haven't really noticed it. Like, I feel like I've kind of like, I don't know. I haven't really thought twice about it, to be totally honest with you, because like in the campaign, I actually felt it was very balanced, which was like a big concern, right? Like, people were concerned that they were going to be like fucking dying nonstop in the campaign, and I actually didn't think that was a problem at all.
Yeah, no, it didn't feel that bad.
Yeah, so I thought they did a good job there. And in maps, I don't know, I didn't really ever feel like the maps were so much more difficult because of it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
If you have a build that is just good enough to do tier 16 maps, like let's say last league, it was just good enough to speed through them. Some of these mods are crazy. Like if you're a Fizz build, there is a 90% physical damage reduction modifier that you can put onto a pack. And that doesn't include all the other, if there's like more life and increased life on the map, like that pack is going to be invincible. But if you have a ton of damage, you're not going to notice any of this stuff. So I think we're just kind of overpowering the content, which is what I like to do in this game. I like to make a build that doesn't need to think about the content it's doing. And my dog wanted to say hi. If you make a build that's just good enough, you're probably struggling with some of these mods.
Fair. That's fair.
Wait, can I quickly go grab some water and stuff while you guys discuss and collect questions? If I turn off my camera, is it going to break everything?
Yep.
Nope.
Yeah?
I'm Lolcohol now.
Well,
that's fine.
Enjoy. It's going to be mixed up for a minute. I didn't meet my sub goal, so no one gets to see my legs. That's your fault. I'll be right back.
Right, well,
what should I say as Lolcohol now?
Apparently, I'm Omicid. Here I am, Omicid, boyish and silly.
I'm squinting at you.
I can see you. Your video's up.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
All right. So did we pull any chat questions?
Let's see. Is the 6-link Squire fixed? You can't make them anymore. I don't know if they've removed the gems yet. How do you guys feel about the amount of new/changed options for builds, a handful of new transfigured gems, a handful of buffs to old transfigured gems, and some targeted nerfs to overtuned gems? Arrow, you wanna take that one?
I was hoping for a little bit more, but I really liked what they changed. I thought they did a pretty good job. Penance Brand of Dissipation, obviously overtuned, it needed to be nerfed. It got a pretty healthy nerf. It's still very playable, which is what they should do. They shouldn't nerf things to 0. We got some new skills. I thought we were going to get the rest of the skills this league, because last league they said we're going to try to get them all in before league start. That was for 3.23. So the fact that we only got 7, some of my favorite skills, Hydrosphere, Cobra Lash, still don't have a transfigured version, which is kind of a bummer. But it's I think they did a pretty good job. I just would like to see a little bit more from league to league.
I was surprised there was this few. I thought they were going to do... I mean, granted, knowing the scope of the league now, it makes sense. Like, they probably were like, okay, we can do either the endgame rework or we can do all these new gems. I can imagine, like, that's kind of how the discussion went. But at that time, I was like, it's only 7. That's kind of surprising. I was expecting, like, 50. But I imagine next league will have a lot.
Lolcohol, what are your thoughts?
I have a question.
Weird.
Really awkward. Do you think we're overdue for an expedition level of rebalancing? I don't ever think that's going to happen again, because they've said explicitly, like, Yeah, they're like, yeah, we did this and we lost like 30% of our revenue for an average league, so we're just never doing that again. And I was like, kind of based.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I don't think so. I feel like it could be cool if they did like a numerical pass again over some things. But I feel like their approach has been to not do that. I don't know whether they'll do it again, but I think the league start meta could use a little bit of love, particularly.
Which perfectly rolls into Amber's question. How do you feel about the DD influencing the league starter meta and the power creep and new standard of league starters? I would just like to start by saying you don't have to play the strongest build to play PoE. Mm-hmm. I think it's really important that the entire community hears that message. And since you're all here, you don't have to play the strongest build. There's so many fun things to play. You don't just have to play the build that has been designated the best. Detonate Dead is very, very strong. My dog's getting impatient with me. And I think DD has needed a nerf for a while. Let's just, okay, you can come on up. So I hope that it gets a big nerf. I think even the people who play it hope that. It's been very strong for very long, and now that there's so many new ways to play it, it has really taken over. So I'm hoping to see a pretty big nerf next league.
I want an expedition style nerf where they just like fucking destroy half the skills. We need that. We need that the old school nerf.
Were you here when we were? Did you miss that section we were talking about?
I did. Okay, I was out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if you had your headphones on, but yeah, Guitar Hawk asked exactly that, and I was like, I don't think they're ever going to do that again because of the massive. It's just like a PR thing to some degree, right? Like it could be completely necessary, but like you're like, hey, the entire patch note is all skill nerfs, and they were like, actually, 30% of people aren't going to play this league because of that, so they just like canned it.
Yeah, we'll balance it out with buffs, I guess. But like, you're never gonna make people happy. You're never gonna make everyone happy. The moment you try to do that, you're gonna have Diablo 3. So
I feel like this is why though they've taken very much like the borrowed power approach, so that way they can avoid doing that or having to do that again. I would assume from their perspective, right, where like they give us the wildwood trees and then they take them away, right? Like, and then now. This league didn't really have a lot of borrowed power that I can think of, really. Like it's
itemization is kind of insane.
Okay, yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. Being able to like easy access to items, like fractured influence. Yeah, sure, that's a fair argument. That's effectively borrowed power. So yeah, like that'll go away and they pull it back. So people won't have as easy access to making those items again, which is a little bit of a different type of borrowed power, but still similar.
Yeah, there's no chance it comes back, so we don't have to worry about people 6 tier 1 crafting next league.
Yeah, probably not.
I think
Rog will do that for me.
Elizarus saying you're tired of the answer being nerfing instead of bringing up weaker things. If all you do is just bring stuff up, again, you're going to have a D3 problem where you're now just everything is dealing too much damage. And also, it disincentivizes people from looking elsewhere. The moment, I guess it's almost like a negativity bias, the moment you nerf something, there's been so many instances where something has been nerfed, declared a dead skill, and then a league later, rediscovered this is still so good. Like Penance Brand probably is going to be like super meta next league. But I think it kind of shifts the focus if you nerf something. But I do agree, they do need to buff some stuff at the same time to make kind of at least draw your attention towards certain things. But yeah. What else?
Melee needs some love. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think so. It's like, Melee feels balanced.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
You think it's fine?
Oh, well, I'm joking.
Oh, okay. I was like, what does he know that we don't? Yeah.
I feel like the melee problem is pretty tricky, though. It's not... there is obviously like numerical changes that can be done that would help, but on the same note, like PoE is just like not like a lot of the mechanics inherently are not very melee friendly. So it's not like pure like just a numerical pass wouldn't solve the problem.
No,
but it would help. So maybe start there? Question mark.
It would help, but yeah, mechanically it doesn't make sense because one of the best defenses in PoE is just deleting everything before it gets close, and therefore bow skills are kind of popular right now.
Yeah.
So
Bows are really, bows are as strong as I feel like they've ever been. Although actually that's not true. Last league.
huh. I was wondering, would you guys ever be interested in doing like a kind of meta level discussion on content creation on something like this? Like we've been doing in the Discord server? Do you think that would be something you'd want to do? Would that be something people would want to hear? Like content creators talking about content creation?
A little inside baseball.
I would be down. Yeah. A content creator roundtable?
Yeah. I didn't actually hear Arrow's response. He got cut out.
Oh no, I just said it's talking inside baseball. I think I don't know if people are interested in that. I think it's probably you either are or you definitely are not.
Yeah.
So
Make bow users carry ammo. There we go.
Wow.
lightning bolt.
Yeah, actually, that'd be a good way to nerf bow builds. Is that every time they use a skill, they shout what they're doing. So the more attacks per second you get, the more it just like turns into sound chaos.
How about you have to go back to town to fill up your quiver?
Yes.
Oh, even Jonathan's listening. He's writing that down.
Hell yes.
I'm sorry,
Dude,
everybody.
And your quiver has 200 arrows.
Oh my god, it's like World of Warcraft 2005 all over again. There, I mean, on that note, PoE 2 flask. If I had to go back to town to refill my flasks every zone, I think I would quit in one day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no.
hopefully.
Guitaraholic was speaking about defenses. I don't know if you want to do one more question, but talking about, do you feel like defenses are in a good spot? Because I released a video on it today, but people were discussing defenses. If it's too hard to feel tanky, if it's too hard to just build good defenses, and is it bad that you have to build different layers of defense to feel at least not like a glass cannon? Arrow. Yeah.
All right. I feel like defenses are in an okay place right now. I think layering defenses has always been how you play this game. Like I watched your video today. Shout out Lolcohol. And one of the people, I think it was on Reddit, was talking about like, I want to just be an armor knight, and it's like, well, okay, go play a different game. This is not a game where you just have one stat and your character's done. It's complex for a reason, and layering defenses is what makes defense so interesting in this game. But at the same time, there are definitely some that I'd like to see changed, reworked. I think we are far too reliant on Fizz taken as right now. It bypasses all of the downsides. You can't have your Fizz overwhelmed, which is an absurd stat in this game. For a monster to just make you not mitigate Fizz makes no sense. I don't know why that exists, and we don't have that for, fire res. All of a sudden you're just at 0. It seems absurd. It's way too strong. So if you invest heavily into armor, you just have no armor against that mob. So that could use a little rework. Maybe make it percentage based. Fizz taken as, I think we're far too reliant on it. It's not that interesting that everybody on League Star is looking for one of 2 chess pieces. So hopefully they make a few changes on that front. I'd like to see some more physical mitigation options for the right side of the tree. Right now, it's just Fizz taken as. There's nothing else you can do over there. Besides, there's I think it's Wind Dancer. You could do like less damage taken overall, but there's no physical mitigation available. And I think they probably could do something for us over there. Allow us as right side players, which I really am, to have something to invest into.
Yeah. I feel like Suppress feels way too good right now as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like
it does feel mandatory.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to, it when you don't have it kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, maybe that's maybe that would be a situation where it's like bringing others up to meet a little bit, adjusting, and less like adjusting the way armor works, but maybe adjusting the way things interact with armor, like you were saying, Arrow, something like that. Maybe that's the approach. I remember when bothering with Chaos Res used to be optional and not mandatory. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think the game was really easy before. Like there's like getting away with like negligible defense. Even in softcore was kind of like it was way too light in my opinion. I am glad that the game is at least a little bit harder to where you like have to build your defense up more. And Chaos Res being optional always felt weird.
Yeah.
Personally.
And it's a system that once you kind of get your head around it, it's incredibly satisfying to get right and to feel like I'm not dying that often anymore. But when you don't quite get it and you feel like, oh, I've got this and this and this and this and I'm still dying, it is incredibly frustrating. It is a thing of knowledge and understanding. That's why I did that. I don't know, Arrow, you reckon I should probably, what do you think of my little spreadsheet in my video? Think I should develop that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Just have like a basic framework of maybe basic targets of try to cover these things, and then it should feel at least decent, because I think what happens with a lot of people is they say, I've got these like 7 layers of defense and I keep dying, but they've missed a kind of broad overarching concept that is just like an Achilles heel to their builds. You know, like they might have evasion. Good. They might have evasion and this and this, but they are completely missing like a mitigation layer that's really important. But when you do get it right, it is very satisfying, and I'm very glad it's in the game that there are all these different things that you can do.
Like watching Lance make these insanely tanky builds is so cool. Like he's like makes this trickster that is only Achilles heel is simply only tables, and it's like that's a pretty hard thing to do. I don't know, like watching him make those builds though, like just investing mirrors and mirrors into gear to make something that is functionally immortal is sick. Like I don't know, there's really no other game, or sorry, no other ARPG, I should say, that does defensive layering, in my opinion, as well as PoE. Like where like you have so many different options and so many different levers you can pull. Everything else is very, very binary, right? Like it's kind of like you either have this one thing or you don't. And honestly, for a long time, PoE used to be like that, right? Like it was, you have your reses, you have your armor, you have your evasion, and you're good. And like that's it. And like it was really more of like checking a box and less like making a decision. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Did we cover it?
I think
did
we
nail it?
I think
almost 2 hours. I think that was pretty good.
Wow. That was pretty good. That was great. I think
that
that was a great discussion.
I really enjoyed it. I'm glad that we were able to be a little bit not positive at times, but keep it, you know, level-headed. Fuck T17s.
Whoa! I gotta edit that out.
Sorry.
Yeah, God. Now we're gonna have 2 bleeps.
At least I dropped an F-bomb at least 4 times I can think of. So
just not in the first 30 seconds. You know, when you upload the video, you can just say there's like that thing.
I know.
You know,
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, how am I gonna get those chocolate milk sponsorships though? All right.
Oh my God. Yes.
You should 100% reach out to like a major
Nesquik?
milk company. No, you don't want them. You can think of a better one. There's
Sponsored by Nestle.
No, that's one you don't want. I don't think. No. There's other. Go to like a local dairy farm. See if they'll sponsor you.
I'm putting the. I'm ending this conversation. No more chocolate milkies talk in my channel. Thanks for the call,
Arrow
guys.
drinks milk privately.
The best place to drink it, to be honest. Thank you for the call. This was fun. And if we don't have anything else, I think we'll drop. And I gotta let these dogs out anyway. I'm gonna keep streaming, but I gotta go let these doggies out. They're getting very impatient on me.
Oh, I got a message while we were streaming, Arrow. My mom sends her regards. Oh. Just said make sure you take your magnesium for the cramps. But other than that,
tell her I'm sorry for giving them to her.
Okay.
I'm hanging up.
Goodbye. Bye, guys.